I've had these ideas for a while now, but I was hesitant about sharing them, fearing being considered too radical, blasphemous, maybe clickbaity. But now I feel there may have been a change in the perception of these matters after Linkin Park's decision to reactivate as a band, a decision that is controversial and full of grey areas, and certainly many will have considered radical and blasphemous. I don't have much to say about that in particular. Chester Bennington was certainly a great singer, but the truth is Linkin Park never caught my fancy. So I'm not very close to their story and I don't have much interest in discussing them. Faith No More, however, is quite the opposite. With the 10th anniversary of their last record round the corner, maybe it would be a good opportunity for Faith No More to decide if they want to be a legacy band, limiting themselves to touring and playing the old songs we all know and love, or they still want to be some kind of creative voice in this chaotic post-records world of ours. Both options are just as valid and as difficult, but in any case, no matter which one they take, I think a change of singer would certainly revitalize the band. Evidences have been piling up for a long time showing that Mike Patton's heart is no longer with Faith No More. In fact, the band seems to have become for him a sort of embarrassing sin of youth that he'd prefer not to have committed. In an interview, I heard it some time ago, so I can't give the reference, the interviewer mentioned the real thing and Patton literally scoffed. He seemed to have even forgotten that that album was the one that gave him the status of superstar. I would have loved to know more of what is it that Patton found so disgusting in that album that many Faith No More fans consider their best. But, on the other hand, posing that question would also be sort of dangerous, because Mike Patton seems to belong to the Frank Zappa school of public relations, consisting in reminding as often as possible to your audience and to the press that you think they are stupid. There are more events I could point out that show Patton's unease towards Faith No More, but it suffices to point out the latest and perhaps most known of all, a series of events that started about 2 or 3 years ago. Here's the chain of events as I lived them. In the typical sketchy way news are given to us in our infotainment world. 1. Faith No More announces plans for a new tour. 2. Short after that, Mike Patton announces that he retires from touring in order to deal with some mental health issues. Good for him for being so upfront and taking this matter seriously. His bandmates, of course, give their blessings and desire him the best. 3. In a new interview some time later, Patton reappears and says that he's working with a team of specialists and he's doing way better. And 4. Some more time passes and the next bit of info about Patton is him on a stage. Great news, it seems the crisis has been surpassed. Only the concert is with Mr. Bangle, and the plans for a Faith No More tour are no longer mentioned, ever. Ironically, in that concert, Patton even has a very different hairdo, as if he was saying, "No, that's not me, that's another Mike Patton. Maybe nobody will notice." Mental health is not a frivolous issue. Ever since it was born, rock music has been plagued with tremendous occupational hazards that have taken a lot of people away. Maybe there were some things Mr. Patton did have to adjust, but one wonders about the lack of consequence afterwards. It really seems as if the whole Faith No More situation had been swept under the rug. Also, there are precedents of this kind of behavior. During the Sol Invictus promotion, Patton once cancelled an interview saying that he was sick, so other member had to give it instead. The interviewer commented that he later saw Patton chatting and drinking wine with friends and not looking very sick. This and other hints accumulated a long time clearly suggest that the big mental health problem for Mike Patton could be Faith No More itself. Maybe he's trying to do one thing and the opposite at the same time, to relate as little as possible to music and people that he is no longer interested in, while retaining the perks of the Golden Goose. In any case, the unfortunate result of all this is that the band is stuck in the mud, impeded to move in any direction. So is it really too daring to think of Mike Patton stepping away and letting the band follow its merry way? The good thing of doing this before anybody has to die is that they can always do the reunion thing later at some point if someone needs some quick cash injection. That way, everybody has what they want. Fate No More is made of several very talented musicians and can perfectly survive Patton. Of course, only if that's what they want to do. Let's remember that Patton isn't even the original singer. He was preceded by the sadly departed Chuck Mosley, who was no small fry. His Introduce Yourself is for me up there with Angel Dust in my list of favorites of what the band can and should do. But Faith No More is also well known for its lack of communication and clear leadership. The only thing they ever seem to have had a consensus about is in sacking Jim Martin, which must have been a piece of work. Maybe out of this cacophony of voices also comes the band's music, so you have to take one thing with the other. But just as a crazy thought experiment, who could be a good replacement for Mike Patton? How about Corey Glover? He's another very good singer with a complicated love-hate relation with his mothership band, Living Colour. And both bands, in the beginning, were labeled with the common funk metal name, so it isn't really that long of a shot. Or speaking of Corys, I'm just spitballing here. How about Corey Taylor? He can certainly sing his butt off, let alone yell, and has a great baritone register. Here's how to order. And being in Faith No More would be the great cure for Slipknot's Achilles heel, the lack of sense of humor. Truth be told, I don't think I'll get to see any of these prodigies. They would require to go through some tough conversations and being very honest. It won't happen, but I wonder, shouldn't rock and roll be about that, about staying true and calling things out, even when it's uncomfortable?